Hello there, Charley and Henry here, and welcome back to Xbox On. Now, there are loads of reasons to be excited about a new generation of consoles. There's all the shiny new tech and the joy of getting your hands on a new piece of kit. But really, it's actually all about the games. Putting aside the thousands of back-compat games, Xbox Series S and X are launching with 31, yes count them, 31 games specifically optimized to take advantage of their power. So here's our full guide to every single launch title you could be playing come the 10th of November.
Let's kick off in our neck of the woods, but hundreds of years in the past. Sharpen those axes because Assassin's Creed Valhalla promises to be the most complete Viking-themed RPG we've ever seen. Jam-packed with brand new activities never before seen in the franchise, like raids, rap battles, seriously, and Norwich? Anyway, it's sure to impress in gorgeous 4K 60fps on Xbox Series X, so a perfect entry point to your next-gen experience.
Speaking of next-gen experience, you'll instantly be able to feel the difference from this title, as the Xbox Series X and S version of Dirt 5 brings 120 frames per second gaming to your eyeballs thanks to smart delivery and optimizations. It's all the bumps, drifts, and high-performance rally cars you could want, but without needing a trip to the car wash when you're finished. Now that's what I call clean racing.
We all love a bit of gears, don't we? Characters with necks the width of your torso, intense cover shooter action, ripping ugly bugs in two with your chainsaw, and on launch day you'll have two next-gen options to indulge in all of that. We'll get to the second later, but Gears Tactics is coming to console for the first time, taking everything we love about this series and transforming it into a turn-based strategy game with huge squad battles just as frantic and thrilling as any you fought in the shooters.
Back to our capital next for the third entry in the critically acclaimed Haction franchise. Legion brings Watch Dogs to a future vision of an oppressed London that needs your help. Call up all your toughest mates to join the cause. Oh, and best invite your nan too, because the entire population is up for grabs to play here as well. And for those of you who've already tried this game, you'll definitely want to give the next-gen version a go, thanks to its gorgeous ray tracing graphical improvements.
A short 12-hour flight from London would take you close enough to Yokohama, the location for our next game, Yakuza Like a Dragon. If you can imagine it as an in-game activity, it probably exists in this mobster RPG. There's karaoke, kart racing, turn-based combat, adults in nappies, and extremely aggressive lobsters. I'm sure it makes sense eventually. Looks like great fun though.
Tetris is a perfect video game, and that's not an opinion, that's just fact. Tetris Effect, however, might be better, adding spectacular visuals and a soundtrack that moves in time with your blocks. And Connected brings it to Xbox for the first time, complete with competitive and co-op multiplayer, and it's on Game Pass, a perfect game made even better.
Bright Memory Infinite might have caught your eye at the Xbox Series X gameplay reveal earlier this year on account of being A, incredibly pretty, and B, somehow a game made by just one person. We're not quite at Infinite yet, but you can pick up Bright Memory 1.0 at launch. This is a short preview, but it'll give you a great taste of all the sword slashing, time freezing, hook grappling goodness on offer.
You might be getting some strong Ori vibes from our next game, but Evergate is very much its own thing. In this puzzle platformer, you're exploring the afterlife with the help of your soul flame. And this is where the puzzles come in, because the soul flame can be fired at crystals to activate their powers, from speed boost to teleportation. The thing is, you do need to hit them, and at speed, while avoiding all manner of other obstacles. So get your jumping skills ready, folks, because you're gonna need them for this one.
Now it's off to the front lines with Enlisted, a next-gen exclusive that's coming to Xbox Game Preview on launch day. This is a World War II set MMO shooter from the developers of War Thunder. More on that game later, but if you've played that, then you should know their commitment to military authenticity, and this is no exception. Just look at them tanks.
Next up for you, we've got a flight sim with a wee bit of a difference. The difference being that you are a bird. The Falconeer has you flapping through the skies of a flooded fantasy world, dodging enemy fire and bringing down your feathery foes in a twisty-turny dogfight. Or bird fight, I guess. The point is, this is the perfect launch title for any Twitchers, ornithophiles, or just plain bird fanciers out there.
Roller coasters. Roller coasters are great, right? The only possible problem is if you're the kind of person who gets sick on them, but even that's no problem with Planet Coaster. This management sim puts you in charge of a virtual theme park of your own design, hiring, firing, and building rides. A sort of roller coaster tycoon, if you will.
All the games we've talked about so far are brand new to Xbox, but we're also getting some lovely next-gen additions for some of the best games of the past few years. Like, say, Devil May Cry 5, which is getting a special edition just in time for launch. This has been built specifically with Xbox Series X hardware in mind, with a choice of modes depending on whether you're more interested in resolution, ray tracing, or pure 120 frames per second speed. And on top of that, you've got new ways to challenge Devil May Cry veterans, like Turbo Mode, which speeds the game up by 20%, and the dizzyingly large demon hordes of legendary Dark Knight mode. Oh, and a whole new character, the fan favourite Virgil. All in all, this is a very special edition that really does put the emphasis on special.
Cyberpunk, that got your attention. No, not the one that you're thinking of, but a cyberpunk genre horror title from Bloober Team that's getting a next-gen remake bursting with ray tracing spooks and scares. Observer earned its fair share of fans with its psychologically charged atmospheric thrills and chills, and now the System Redux version promises to bring it and you screaming into the next gen.
Next up, two great tastes that taste great together. The tabletop legend that is Warhammer and Diablo-style dungeon crawling action RPGs. As you'd probably expect from that combo, Chaosbane is a perfect co-op game, whether you're playing online or on the same sofa. And the Slayer edition includes the Egyptian-themed Tomb Kings expansion and 2 new character classes to keep you playing.
Of course, on top of all the titles we're talking about here, Xbox Series S and X are launching with literally thousands of playable games thanks to backwards compatibility for the original Xbox and 360 as well as Xbox One. But certain titles are getting the optimized treatment with updates to their graphics or performance. Take for example Fortnite, a game we all know very well by this point. You can expect a huge visual upgrade, making something very familiar feel kind of new all over again. But don't worry, you won't have to start over because all of your progression and purchases will carry over to the next gen.
And sticking with the bargains, for anyone looking for something to try on their new console without spending an extra penny, next we've got a couple of free-to-play bangers just for you. We mentioned War Thunder earlier, and if you're at all interested in historical aircraft, tanks, warships, and the rest, you owe it to yourselves to check out its authentic replicas on the Xbox Series S or X. After all, it won't cost you anything.
And coming from the same publisher, we've also got Cuisine Royale. This takes all of the realistic weaponry and vehicles that they're so good at and then combines that with magical powers that let you do things like summon a horde of zombies to create a truly bonkers battle royale.
To see just how much being optimized can bring to a game, you can't do much better than looking at Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is one of the most beautiful games of the current gen, but it's never looked or played better than it does on the new consoles. On Xbox Series X, you can expect full 4K HDR at 120 frames per second and lower input latency to make sure every jump is perfectly precise.
One of the great things about Xbox Series S and X is smart delivery. If you see a game marked with those magic words, it means that whatever Xbox console you'll play it on, it'll automatically give you the right version. In other words, if you're a rally nut who just bought WRC 9 on release for Xbox One, you don't need to pay all over again to get the next-gen version. Just fire it up on your Series S or X and it'll give you the upgrade for free.
Look, we can't promise you'll ever be able to enjoy every single gun in Borderlands 3. There are over 1 billion of them, after all. But what we can promise is that this is the best version of that murderously psychotic, apocalyptic nightmare on Xbox ever. There's a character to suit every style, and some of the most fluid co-op FPS gunplay we've ever seen. Cell-shaded madness has never looked so good.
The next gen is a great opportunity for sports games to take realism to the next level, and NBA 2K21 is definitely taking charge here. Not only giving the graphics a boost, but also improving player AI and tweaking everything from badges to takeover skills.
You know, usually 4v1 is a bit of an unfair situation, but we're gonna let it slide in this case. It's the lone wolf that's actually on the hunt in Dead by Daylight, while those 4 survivors do their very best not to end up like the countless victims of horror tropes that this game thrives on. As an asymmetric multiplayer experience, the game shines with numerous killers and survivors to pick from, with tons of skills to master. Bonus points for recognizing the cameos from some of the genre's finest too.
It's hard enough wrapping your head around just how powerful the Series X and S will be without then having to navigate the Escher-inspired puzzlescape that is Manifold Garden. Guaranteed to leave you with your hands clasped to the sides of your head, rocking back and forth and chanting that the simulation is taking over, due in part to its mind-bending visuals that are as confusingly hypnotic as they are striking. I mean, if you do beat this game, then you're probably cleverer than us, so that's nice.
Next Gen is a great chance to catch up on some of the games you may have missed on Xbox One, knowing you're now playing them in the very best form. Like, if you never got round to the Jawsy joys of Maneater earlier this year, now you'll be able to munch on sailors in 4K 60 frames per second with ray tracing to really bring its ocean to life.
Or how about King Oddball, a game which well and truly lives up to its name. You play as a moon, boulder, king thing, using your tongue to flick rocks around, knocking over buildings and blowing up tanks. I mean, sure, why not?
If you'd rather play a more traditional monarch, check out Yes Your Grace. This game hands you the crown and all the responsibilities that comes with it. You'll need to pass judgment on your royal subjects, choose who to help and who to doom, and most important of all, prepare for war. If those kingly duties sound within your realm, then maybe the throne awaits you.
And wrapping up this selection pack of in case you missed it indies, we've got The Touryst, a stylish little adventure game with the most gorgeous blocks this side of that ray-traced Minecraft demo. Plus, it's on Game Pass, making this holiday destination the perfect port of call for any subscribers looking for some optimized titles on their shiny new consoles.
And speaking of Game Pass titles, well, there is loads of them thanks to all those lovely Xbox Game Studios games. Hopefully you've noticed the Xbox Game Pass banner popping up at the top of the screen. But one we're really especially excited to get our grubby little mitts on is Sea of Thieves. Just the idea of next-gen waves and ships is enough to thoroughly shiver our timbers.
And here's another. Obsidian's shrunk-down survival game Grounded is getting optimized with 4K support, better graphical fidelity and HDR to make sure that every single blade of grass looks completely spectacular. Which is more important in Grounded than most other games, given the grass is flippin' huge!
Rolling green fields, serene National Trust walkways, and historic British architecture. These are just some of the sights that will be a distant blur as you whiz around on Forza Horizon 4's tracks. If you've ever wanted to cruise through Edinburgh in a PLP 50 or scare some sheep with a rev of a Jeep Trailcat engine, then you'll feel right at home here. And with Optimize running at 4K 60 frames per second and a graphical bump on everything from shadows to particle effects, is better than actually going outside, especially at this time of year.
We opened this video with a Gears game, so why not finish on one too? Gears 5 was one of last year's finest, combining a series best campaign with its biggest ever multiplayer, featuring Horde, Versus and the brand new Escape mode. And that's all getting optimized for next gen with graphical enhancements, 120 FPS frame rates in multiplayer and reduced input latency, so you can make sure that every shot lands exactly the way you want it to.
So there you have it. Every single next-gen optimized game you'll be able to play on Xbox Series S and X on the 10th of November, which is now really nearly here, by the way. Why not check out some of our other videos all about the next gen by clicking right here. There's bound to be something that'll catch your eye. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. See ya!